लाडली लाल की जय, श्रीमद सद्गुरु सरकार की जय। प्रथमं सद्गुरुं वन्दे श्री कृष्णं तदनन्तरं गुरुः पापात्मनां त्राता श्रीकृष्णस्त्वमलात्मना। व्रजे वसन्तं नवनीतचौरम् गोपाङ्गनानां चदुकूलचौरम् अनन्तजन्मार्जितपाप चौरम् चौराग्रगण्यं पुरुषं नमामि। पादाश्रितानां तु समस्तचौरम् श्रीराधिकाया हृदयस्य चौरम् नीलाम्बुजश्यामलकान्ति चौरम् चौराग्रगण्यं पुरुषं नमामि। नमः कमलना नमस्ते कमलेक्षण यो ब्रह्माणं विदधाति पूर्वं यो वै वेदांश्च प्रहिणोति तस्मै तग्वं हा देवमात्मबुद्धिप्रकाशं मुमुक्षुर्वै शरणमहं प्रपद्ये। Dear devotees of God, let's sing from Premaras Madhira in the book that you have on your devices. Page number is 83. If you do not have access to that, please share with your neighbor. Or if you see someone who doesn't have it, please share with them. Page number is 83. Madhur dhuni murali bajavat kanha. Shri Krishna is playing soul-stirring melodies on his flute. Dhuni suni, hearing the sound of the flute, vidhi hari har sab mohe. Brahma, Vishnu and Shankar, everyone became attracted. Chutyo gyani jan dhyan. The Gyanis came out of their meditational trance. So the sound of the flute has forcibly captivated the hearts of Brahma, Vishnu and Shankar. It has terminated the gopis' meditation on the impersonal aspect of God. Jangam jeev bhaye jad sigare, jad jangam suni tan. Hearing the divine sound of the flute, birds and beasts have become inert. They have become rooted to the spot. They cannot move around because they're so mesmerized by the sound. Whereas inert objects like stones don't move, but stones are melting and flowing in motion. They are so moved by the divine sound of Krishna's flute. Nabh taragan chandradik kah nij nij gati hi bhulan. Even the moon and the stars have forgotten to move, and they are standing absolutely still. Ek kripalu hi bachyo jagat maha nishchal shaila saman. With utmost humility, Jagadguru Sri Kripalu ji humbly remarks, in the entire world, I alone remained unaffected by the flute. I remained unmoved like a mountain. बोलिए मुरली मनोहर श्री कृष्ण भगवान की जय। श्रीमद् सद्गुरु सरकार की जय। Devotional listeners, now I humbly request your full attention, and please do make sure your cell phone will not ring during the session. The Bhagvatam is so glorious that its glory knows no bounds. It is not merely the best of all 18 Purans, it is the best of all scriptures, uncontested. In the Bhagavad, we get the essence, the meaning of the Brahma Sutras, also known as Vedanta. Arthoyam Brahma Sutranam. So this Bhagavad contains the meaning of the Brahma Sutras. Sarva Vedanta Saram hi Shri Bhagavatam ishyate Tadrasa Amrita Triptasya Nanyatrasya Kvachit Dratih Kvachit. Again, the Bhagavad is Sarva Vedanta Sar. Vedanta ka sar hai ye Bhagavad. If you wish to know what is in the Vedanta, what is a Vedanta philosophy, well, you can understand that from the Bhagavatam. Sar is the essence, the juice, the very essence. You have an orange and you squeeze it, you get the essence, the juice. The essence of the Brahma Sutras and the essence of the Vedanta is found in the Bhagavad Puran. Sarvopanishadam sarajata bhagavati katha. Moreover, the essence of the Upanishads is found in the Bhagavatam. The Upanishads are the end part of the Vedas. Very important. And if you wish to know the Upanishads, well, just go to the Bhagavad. So this Bhagavad is extremely important for us. Shukdev Paramhans is the narrator of the Bhagavad. King Parikshit is the listener. Now, later Sutaji Maharaj took it upon himself to preach the Bhagavad to Shaunak and other Paramhansas, collectively known as Shaunakadik Paramhans. 88,000 of them. He preached the Bhagavad to them and he told them, look, Shukdev Paramhans spoke the Bhagavad for the benefit of King Parikshit, and he did that for 7 days. The reaction of the Shaunakadik Paramhans, they said it's impossible. It's impossible that Shukdev Paramhans would recite the Bhagavad for 7 days. Tasya putro mahayogi samadring nirvikalpakah. Because Shukdev Paramhans is always absorbed in his nirvikalpa samadhi. He's always in his meditational trance. It's very difficult to find him in the first place. Where is he? Because he wanders around like a madman. He's completely oblivious of his physical presence and physical surroundings. It's very difficult to find Shukdev. If you find him, it's very difficult to awaken him, to come out of his trance. his meditation, his samadhi. He's absorbed in it. Even if you manage to get him out of his samadhi, it is next to impossible to get him to sit in one place. And he recited the Bhagavad for 7 days. He sat in one place and he did that. That's impossible to understand. He's nirvikalp. He's samadarshi. So his mind he's in nirvikalp samadhi. Thoughts cannot enter there. He is samadarshi. He's absolutely neutral. And he's murho. He's like a madman. He doesn't know where he's going. He doesn't know what is going on around him. He doesn't know where his hands are, where his feet are. He's like a madman. He's mad for Brahma. He's mad. He's like a madman. And ekantamati. Even amongst thousands of people, he is in his solitude. How will you get Shukdev Paramahansa to recite the Bhagavad for 7 days? We can't believe it. Moreover, they said, Sagodohana matram hi griheshu grihamedhinam. When Shukdev Paramahansa begs in front of a house for food, when he begs a householder for some food with a begging bowl in his hand, he only stays, he comes out of his samadhi only for as long as it takes to milk a cow. Sagodohana matram hi griheshu grihamedhinam. It doesn't take very long for an experienced person to milk a cow, and that's how long Shukdev Paramahansa will stand in front of a house. And he'll say, Bhiksham Dehi. And if someone doesn't come out, after a very short period of time, he moves on. And that Shukdev, he recited the Bhagavad. So Sutaji Maharaj answered them and said, I understand your confusion. He said, you and I, we are all Brahmagyanis. We are lost in the meditation. They're all Paramahansas. So we only know Brahmanand. We only know the bliss of the impersonal absolute. God without name and form. Remember I was saying yesterday, that is a ras, that is unlimited nectar. But then there's Paramatma, God with name and form, but majestic form of God. That is rasatar. And then Bhagwan, that is rasatam, the sweetest nectar. So Shukdev Paramahansa and Shaunakadik Paramahansa, all these Paramahansa, they only know Brahmanand. So Shaunakadik Paramahansa, they're thinking, how is this possible? Sutaji Maharaj says, I'll tell you how it's possible. We only know Brahmanand. But the Bhagavad contains Premanand, the bliss of love. The love of God with name, form and pastimes. And those pastimes are so mesmerizing, they're so attractive, that Shukdev Paramahansa came out of his samadhi and he was captivated by the Bhagavatam. So he renounced his Brahmanand. He immediately forgot about Brahmanand and he entered Premanand. So he renounced Brahmanand in favor of Premanand. Harer guna kshiptamatir bhagavan vadarayani adhyagan mahadakhyanam nityam vishnu janapriyah. Sutaji Maharaj said, O Shaunakadik Paramahansa, he addressed 88,000 of them and he said, the glory, the sweetness of God with name and form is such that Shukdev Paramahansa came out of his samadhi and recited the Bhagavad for 7 days. That bliss, that Premanand is so sweet that whether it is Privritti Narayan Gyani or Nivritti Parayan Gyani, no matter who it is, they will all come out of their samadhi. Pravritti Parayan Gyani would be King Janak. He is married, he has a household, he's a king. When he saw Bhagwan Shri Ram, up until then, he was lost in Brahmanand. he was not meditating on God with name and form, but when he saw his own Brahma before him, he forgot all about Brahmanand. And he cried out, Inahi vilokat ati anuraga barabas Brahma sukhahi man tyaga. Why is it that my mind has forcibly let go of Brahmanand? I don't want Brahmanand anymore. As soon as he saw Bhagwan, Sri Ram and Lakshman, Janak had this reaction. He did not want Brahmanand anymore. He left it forever and he became a devotee just by seeing Bhagwan Sri Ram. He's a Pravritti Parayan Jnani. Then there's Nivritti Parayan Jnani. The best of those are the Sanakadik Paramhans. So we have lots of Paramhansas that I've mentioned now. Shukadev Paramhans, Shaunakadik Paramhans, now Sanakadik Paramhans. Sanakadik meaning Sanak, etc. Sanak, Sanatan, Sanandan, Sanat Kumar. 4 sons of Brahma. These 4 were very, very unique in that they always remained as 6-year-old boys. Always. They looked like 6-year-old boys. And there was not a stitch of clothing on their bodies, and they would just wander around and they would go to this abode and that abode. And one day, these 4 sons of Brahma, all Paramhansas, again lost in the ecstasy of Brahmanand, they went to Vaikuntha. And there they had the darshan of Bhagwan Vishnu, in other words Mahavishnu. They bowed down to him, they touched his lotus feet, and as they touched his lotus feet, there were some tulsi leaves placed offered at the feet of the Lord, lotus feet of Mahavishnuji. And that fragrance, that divine fragrance, entered their nostrils. They inhaled the fragrance of the tulsi leaves. And they gave up their Brahmanand. Tasyaravinda nayanasya padaravinda kinjalka mishra tulasi makaranda vayu antargata swavivarena chakara tesham sanshobham akshara mapi chitta tanvoho. They renounced Brahmanand and they immediately became devotees. When they saw a name and when they saw the form of God, when they saw Mahavishnu, who has a name, form and abode, they let go of Brahmanand. And this is what they said to Bhagwan Vishnu. They said, give us residence anywhere. Put us in hell if you like. Order us to stay in hell, we do not mind. But on one condition, and that is that our minds must always be like black bees, tasting the nectar of your lotus feet. We must never forget your lotus feet. You must always be on our minds, and we don't mind living anywhere. We don't mind living in hell. We don't mind living in Narak. Because you see, if you have a diamond, a precious diamond, and you have it wrapped in a rag, very ordinary rag, it doesn't matter that the diamond is wrapped in a rag or in satin, in a cloth made of satin. It doesn't matter because main thing is a diamond. So main thing is that we must always remain devoted to your lotus feet. And we don't mind staying anywhere, even in hell. So the attraction of God with name and form is so great that someone like Shukdev Paramhans, someone like Janak, King Janak, who is a Paramhans, and Paramhansas like Sanakadik Paramhans, and then later on Shaunakadik Paramhans, they will all renounce their Brahmanand. They will forget about it immediately, and they will become devotees. So the Bhagavad has the power. The Bhagavad talks about Bhagwan, God with name and form, who descends to earth and performs earthly pastimes. And those pastimes are such that they bring a Paramhans back into the world. Shukdev Paramhans comes out of his samadhi and he goes to his father Vedavyas and he sits at his father's lotus feet and learns the ABCs of devotion. he becomes Premanandi, and he forgets all about being a Brahmanandi. This Bhagavad scripture, it is the greatest of all scriptures. And I was telling you yesterday that when the Shaulakadik Paramhansas asked Sutji Maharaj, what is the aim of human life? Then he said, the answer he gave was, the aim of life is to practice devotion to Adhokshaj, meaning Sri Krishna. Yato bhakti radhokshaji. Practice bhakti. To love Sri Krishna is the aim of life. So the Bhagavad tells us the aim of life, and it also tells us how to fulfill that aim. It tells us that we must love Sri Krishna, and then it first of all tells us how we should love him. And there are two conditions you may not have forgotten. Two conditions in that devotion are ahaituki and apratihata. Devotion must be selfless and it must be continuous. Let's talk about both these conditions. Bhukti mukti sprihaya vat pishachi hridi vartate tavad bhakti sukhasyatra katham abhyudayo bhavet. This is from Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu by Rup Goswami, who says that as long as there are two witches inside your heart, there are witches inside my heart? Yes, Pishachi. Which witches are in my heart? If you have the witch, which is called Bhukti and Mukti in your heart, Supreme Goddess Mahadevi of Bhakti Mahadevi will not make her entrance into your heart. Bhukti and Mukti are called witches, Pishachi, Pishachini. Meaning, if you have the desire for worldly pleasures, pleasures of Maya, pleasures found in this world, and pleasures found in Swargalok, and there are 7 levels of Swarga, and Satma Swarga, the ultimate Swargalok, is called Brahmalok, the abode of Brahmaji. Brahmaji is divine, but his abode is a realm of Maya. It is under the control of Maya. That is the highest Swargalok, and there is the highest happiness, greatest happiness of Maya over there. So ranging from pleasures of this world, going from pleasures of this world, right up to the pleasures of the Satma Swarga, the 7th heaven, that is Brahmalok. If you have a desire for these pleasures, then you have the demon is called Bhukti in your heart. And the other one is Mukti. As long as you have desire for liberation, even then, if you have these two witches in your heart, you cannot practice devotion. Devotion will not enter your heart. So let's talk about this now in greater detail. From the Bhagavad, we learn that when Narsingh Bhagwan killed Hiranyakashipu, he approached Prahlada. In fact, let me go back to take my statement back. When Hiranyakashipu had been killed by Narsingh Bhagwan, Bhagwan in the form of half man, half lion, then he was looking very, very angry because he killed Hiranyakashipu in a state of anger. His eyes were red with rage, and he was looking very frightening. His claws were out, he was covered with blood. Brahma, Vishnu, Shankar, no one had the courage to go up to him. They all nudging each other. Hey, you go. You go and express our gratitude. Express gratitude on everyone's behalf. Please go. Brahmaji is telling Vishnuji is telling Shankarji, nobody has the courage to go up. They're saying, no, let's wait until he's in a better mood. He looks very angry, we don't have the courage to go up. So they asked Mahalakshmiji, oh mother, he is your husband. Please go and express our gratitude. She said, no, I don't want to go near him. I'll wait until he's in a better mood, in a loving mood. Everyone was afraid to go near him. Prahlada was a little boy and he said, why is everybody so scared? He is not a bhakshak, he is not dangerous, he is not someone who will harm you. He is a rakshak, he is a protector. So very boldly, little Prahlad walked up to Narsingh Bhagwan. And Narsingh Bhagwan looked at Prahlad and tears of joy, tears of love started flowing from his eyes. And he took Prahlad up and he started to dance with joy. It was for the sake of Prahlad that Bhagwan had killed Hiranyakashipu. And then Narsingh Bhagwan asked, Beta, son, Varam Bruhi, Vardhan Mango, ask me for something. I'm very pleased with you. Prahlad started to think, have I made a mistake in devotion? Do I have some desire in my heart that my Lord is asking me to ask for a boon? What mistake have I made? And Prahlad became very worried, and so Bhagwan said, no, you made no mistake. I am very pleased with you and I wish to give you a gift. Which gift would you like? What would you like? Anything, and I'll give it to you. And Prahlad said, Bhagwan, I am your humble servant. You are my Lord and Master. Yasta ashisha ashaste nasabhritya savai vanik. One who asks you for something, one who wants something from you, he's not a devotee of yours, he's not a servant. Oh, he's a baniya. He's a businessman. He wants something in return for something. So you go to someone who's a shopkeeper and you give money and the shopkeeper gives you the goods. So that's business relationship. My relationship with you is not a business relationship, my Lord. I'm a humble servant and I wish to remain so. And a servant should never ask the master for anything. Sri Maharaji has said, Jo Swami so kahai kachu, so nahi das kahai, so Swami na kahai jo das hi aas lagai. Bhakti Shatak. If he's asking something from his master, he's not a true servant. And if that master, if he expects something from his servant, he's not a true master. So both the servant and the master must be selfless, not desiring anything. So, I am a humble servant, I do not desire anything. Ya priti ravivekanam vishayeshvana payini tvamanusmarata sami hridayan ma pasarpatu. Vishnu Puran. Prahlad said, my Lord, my only desire is that all the worldly attachments I have, they should be converted into desire for you. May all the worldly desires I have be destroyed forever. And may my heart be full of love, selfless love for you. That is my only desire. And in the Bhagavad, from the Bhagavad we read, Yadira shame kaman varanstvam varadarshabha kamanam hridya sanroham bhavatastu vrine varam. Prahlad said, my Lord, my only desire is that I should be free from all desires. Forever. I must never desire anything from you. Sri Maharaji has said so beautifully. Jagadguru Shri Kripalu Ji Maharaj says, Khoob tarsaya hai teri hi khwahishon ne tujhko. Khoob tarsaya hai teri hi khwahishon ne tujhko. Ab tu bhi in khwahishon ko kuch tarasti chhod de. How beautifully Shri Maharaji has said that your desires, khwahishi, your desires have tormented you lifetime after lifetime. They have deprived you of the sweetest nectar of Shri Krishna. They got in the way. You accepted them and they tormented you. Now get even with them, take revenge and reject them, torment them by rejecting them. The desire comes to you and you say, no, I will not accept you. I will practice devotion selflessly. I will not want anything. I will not desire anything. Prahlad said, my only desire is that I must not desire anything from you again. मेरी एकमात्र इच्छा यही है भगवान कि मैं कोई भी इच्छा ना बनाऊं. मैं आपसे कुछ ना मांगू, मैं बस यही मांगता हूं. Prahlad has said such a great lesson, he has taught us such a great lesson, that we should not ask God for anything. And hearing this answer from Prahlad, Narsingh Bhagwan became extremely happy. He said, you are the disciple of a true guru. Prahlad is a disciple of Narada ji. Narada ji was preaching the philosophy of the scriptures to Prahlad's mother, Kayadhu, when she was with child. Prahlad had not been born yet. She was not of a very devotional nature, so she would fall asleep while listening to Narada ji. But within her womb there was a devotee waiting to be born, and he would listen very carefully. And so when Prahlad was born, he was born a devotee, and he always considered Narada ji to be his guru, where he had learned from Narada ji. So only a true guru can teach you to be selfless in devotion. Jagadguru Sri Kripalu Ji Maharaj has told the whole world, entire world has been taught by him. He's Jagadguru after all. In my travels over the last 35 years, I've seen that even people who consider someone else as their guru, they are so moved by Sri Maharaj's teachings. I was being hosted by a gentleman and his wife. They were from south of India, and the guru they followed, his pictures were, hundreds of pictures were all over their house. Their house was a center, and that guru is very well known. But when I left their house, he was in tears. He said, I've never cried for anyone except for my guru. And you're the second person I'm crying for, because what you have taught me in these few days, I have never learned. Mind you, he is learning from his guru, and he is very, very dedicated to his guru. His house is a center. He said, I never knew about Rup Dhyan. I had never learned that. And he was crying bitterly. Sri Maharaj's philosophy has such a reach that we cannot even fathom how many people have learned, listened to him, how many people have accepted him mentally as their guru. We have no idea. He was Jagadguru, guru of the entire world. I remember once, I was in Alabama, and I was being hosted by a family. So the husband and wife would go off to work, and the husband's mother, she was at home, and she said to me, and I was so much younger than her, she said, Bittiya, would you like to see the two shows that I watched? And I said, all right, Mataji. And she showed me two Katha Vachak, and they were good. They were telling the stories of Sri Krishna, and it was very interesting. Then I said, in the evening, I said, let's watch Maharajji's lecture, because everybody was together, and after my lecture had finished, I said, let's go to the source, let's listen to Maharajji. He's the ocean. I'm just giving out droplets. Let's go to the ocean. Let's take a plunge. So when she was watching Sri Maharajji, and I kid you not, and I am not exaggerating, after every sentence Maharajji spoke, she said, how wonderful. Wah, kya badhiya batate hain. After every sentence she was saying, wah, wah. Like, I've never heard this before. How wonderful it is. How wonderful it is. And at the end, when the lecture had finished, she turned to me, she said, मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि जब मैंने आपको सुनाया था वो इनके शिष्य हैं. She said to me, the two that I had shown you on TV, the Katha Vachaks, it seems to me that they are his disciples. And I said, Mataji, the whole world is a disciple of Jagadguru Ji Maharaj. He's Jagadguru, guru of the entire world. Anyone and everyone can accept him as a guru, and he will take them to God. Anyhow, so Prahlad, taught by the great Narada ji, said to Bhagwan, I do not want anything. I only want that I should not want anything again. Sri Maharaj ji says, in Hindi Maharaj ji says, Prahlad ne Bhagwan ki bolti band kar di. Bhagwan was left speechless. What do I say now? This little kid is telling me, little child is telling me this. It's wonderful. And Narsingh Bhagwan was extremely pleased. Why should we ask God for anything? Why should we ask Sri Krishna for anything? Is he not all-knowing? Do we forget that he's all-knowing? He's Sarvagya, Sarva meaning all, Gya meaning knowing. He's all-knowing. When someone is all-knowing, when he's all-knowing, we don't need to remind him of anything. It's not like he'd forget. He doesn't forget. He knows everything. He knows what we need. We don't know what we need. We are very confused. We don't know what we need. He will give us what we need, and He will give us what is in our destiny. Purva janma kritam karma taddaiva miti kathyate. Hitopadesh tells us the actions we have performed in previous lives. Now they are bearing fruit in this life, some of them. There are countless actions, sanchit karma. Some of them are bearing fruit and they are called prarabdha karma. They are known as destiny. And of course the third karma is the kriyaman karma, the new actions we are performing in this life that will shape our future. What we will call destiny in our next life and lives. So there are certain things that are meant for us to have, and there are certain things that are not meant for us to have. Destiny is at play. And if you say, well, God can do anything and everything, well, God is able to do anything and everything, but He ties His own hands up. He says, no, I will not go against my rules. My rule is that everyone must suffer the dictates of their destiny. Karma pradhan vishwa kari rakha, jo jas kariye so tasu phal chakha. As you sow, so shall you reap. So why should we ask God, please give me this, give me that? In the Bhagavad Puran, there is a story told of King Chitraketu. He had 1 million wives and they had not a single child. So he was devastated. I need a child, I need a child. So he was visited by sage Narada and others, and he said, you are so powerful that you can give me a child. You can bless me with a child. And Narada Muni said, O king, you are not meant, it's not destined for you to have a child. You are meant to be childless. The king pleaded and he said, no, please, please, I beg you, please give me the boon of a child. Naraji said, the child will bring you great joy and the child will bring you great misery also. I don't know anything, I just want a child. So in due course of time, one of the queens bore the king a child. It was a boy, and the boy was so loved by his father and mother, but the other queens grew jealous for the obvious reason. And when the child was very young, they plotted, they schemed to poison him. They poisoned his food and he was dead. Now the king's grief knew no bounds. Just as his joy had known no bounds when the child was born, now he's wailing, he's grieving, because his sorrow knows no bounds. Then Naraji once again visited him, and looking at the king and his grief, he said, I did warn you that this child will bring you much happiness, but the child will also bring you the greatest pain. You are not meant to have a child. And Naraji then imparted wisdom to the king, and that wisdom, the knowledge of scriptures, brought much solace to the king. The story is in the Bhagavad. So we should not be asking God for anything. It's not, some people say, whatever I ask from God, He gives it to me. You have perhaps met such people who say, and I've met many people who say, Jo hum mangte hain, de dete hain. It's not true. It's not true that whatever you ask from God, He gives it to you. If it's in your destiny, you get it. If it's not, you will not. But just in case it is true that God gives you anything that you want, anything that you ask for, then why not ask for God Himself? You say that Sri Krishna gives you anything you ask for? Yes. Well then ask for Lord Krishna. Just ask Him, I want you. Why should you ask for health and wealth and trinkets, small things? Why should you ask for Swargalok and this and that? Just ask for Sri Krishna. You want the dollar, right? You want $1. You don't want a quarter dime, a nickel, a penny. You want God. He has everything. So just ask for Him. So He is Sarvagya. We are Alpagya. We have very little knowledge. He knows everything. He knows what to give us. So we should not ask. Some people say, well, if we don't ask God, then He's our everything. He's my everything. Tvameva mata cha pita tvameva, tvameva bandhuscha sakha tvameva, tvameva vidya dravinam tvameva, tvameva sarvam mama deva deva. This verse is from Mahabharata scripture. You are my only mother, my only father, my only brother, my only friend, my only wealth, my only knowledge. You are my one and only. We know these words. So, He's my everything. And if I don't ask Him, who should I ask? My neighbor? Who else should I ask? Well, that sounds really good. And somebody said, well, now answer this one. He's my everything. Why shouldn't I ask Him? I will answer that. I will answer that. The answer comes from Jagadguru Sri Kripalu Ji Maharaj. Sri Maharaj Ji says, well, yes, if you're going to ask Him for something, then first tell me, do you regard Him to be your everything? Do you really regard Him to be your mother and father and your only mother, your only father, your only brother, your only companion, your only wealth and only knowledge? Well, no. I accept my biological mother to be my real mother, my biological father to be my real father, the one who I share DNA with. That's my real father. That's my real mother. So as long as you haven't accepted Him to be your real mother and father, you have no right to ask. Okay, I understand now. We have no right to ask because we have not formed any loving relationship with Him. Then we say, well, Kunti asked and He came to her rescue. He protected her honor. Gajraj called out to Him and He saved Gajraj's life. He released the Gajraj's leg from the hold of the crocodile. We hear these stories. So He gave them what they wanted. Yes, but these are real devotees. They loved no one else but Sri Krishna. They had no attachments anywhere. They were true devotees. So when they asked, then God had to come. When Draupadi said, I want you to protect my honor, I beg you, Ha Nath Dwarika Vasyan, O Lord of Dwarika, come and protect my honor. Dushasan was trying to disrobe her in front of full assembly. How embarrassing that would be for any woman. No one can understand. And the Bhishma Pitama, Kripacharya, Dronacharya, they had their eyes downcast. The Pandavas had their eyes downcast. They did not protect her. Draupadi could not protect herself. And finally she turned to Sri Krishna and asked to be protected. And He immediately came. And what a unique avatar He took. He extended her sari endlessly. He appeared to her in the form of cloth. That is Ambaravatar. Gajraj called out to Him and Sri Krishna, Bhagwan saved his life. But these are real devotees. Let's first become real devotees, then we can ask God. Even then it's not a good idea. Because these are sakam bhakta, these are selfish devotees. Meaning selfish in a sense, not that they want anything of the world, but they want something for themselves from God, and God gives it to them. But the philosophy that we are following, the philosophy of Nishkam Bhakti, philosophy taught by Jagadguru Sri Kripalu Ji Maharaj, says you must not become selfish devotees like Draupadi or Gajraj. Although they are venerable, yet we must not follow their example. We must follow the example of the gopis who were completely selfless. So first let's become devotees, then we have the right to ask. So the Bhagavad says your devotion should be ahaituki. Second condition is apratihata. It should be continuous. Let's do Kirtan for 5 minutes and resume the topic. राधे राधे गोविंद राधे 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 गोविंद गोविंद राधे 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 गोविंद गोविंद राधे 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 गोविंद गोविंद राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे 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 गोविंद राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे राधे गोविंद राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे राधे गोविंद राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे राधे गोविंद राधे राधे गोविंद राधे राधे गोविंद राधे 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 गोविंद राधे 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 गोविंद गोविंद राधे राधे गोविंद राधे राधे गोविंद गोविंद राधे राधे गोविंद बोलिए श्री राधा कृष्ण भगवान की जय. The second condition in practicing devotion is the devotion must be apratihata. It must be uninterrupted, it must be unbroken. Devotion must be practiced at all times. We should not think that devotion is something that we do from time to time. Devotion is not an activity to be engaged in from time to time. It is rather a state of mind in which we must remain at all times. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That is our ideal. That is where we should be. That's what we should aspire towards. That's what we should be working towards. Devotion is uninterrupted. Sri Maharaj used to use a word which is very beautiful. Taila dhara vada vichinna. You have heard it. Taila dhara vada vichinna. Uninterrupted, like the flow of oil. So when you pour oil from a bottle into the pan, then that flow of oil is continuous. There's no break in it. So in the same way, our mind, stream of our mind, should always flow towards the ocean, which is God. We must always be practicing devotion. For this, there are two methods. How do we get there? That's our aim. How do we get there? There has to be a method. So the method is twofold. One is karma sannyas sadhana, the other is karma yoga sadhana. Karma sannyas sadhana will mean that, it means that we give up all our activities, chores, responsibilities, duties for some time during the day, and we practice devotion. So that eventually our devotion may be uninterrupted. We need to interrupt the worldly flow, and we must take that time and go by ourselves and practice sadhana, do sadhana, practice devotion. For that, you don't need anyone else around, just God and Guru and you, that's it. And then as the scriptures tell us, Hare namaiva namaiva, namaiva mama jivanam, kalau nastyeva, nastyeva, nastyeva gatiranyatha. Skanda Puran says that in the age of Kali, the only way to effectively meditate on God is by taking the holy name. Chant the holy name. Sing the bhajans and kirtans. Sing devotional songs. So taking the help of bhajans and kirtans, we must try to do Rup Dhyan. Rup Dhyan is a term coined by jagadguru Sri Kripalu Ji Maharaj. That is not just meditation. Meditation is a buzzword. What does it mean? Well, I mean that meditation means that I just concentrate on my breath. As I inhale, as I exhale, I'm concentrating on my breath. Or I'm concentrating on a flame of a candle. Or I'm concentrating on my third eye. But there's no joy in that. There's no love in that. There's no happiness in that. Why not meditate lovingly on Sri Krishna, Radha and Krishna? How interesting, how beautiful. Rather than concentrating on the third eye, let's look at the divine eyes of Radha and Krishna. Let's do Rup Dhyan of their eyes. rather than meditating on the breath, breathe in, breathe out, why don't we look at Radha and Krishna who take our breath away? Why don't we let our breath be taken away by Radha and Krishna? रूप ध्यान, दिव्य रूप का माइक मन से ध्यान करना. Although we don't know what Sri Krishna looks like, we have been told by scriptures. Scriptures do tell us what they've given us hints. We don't have to take any of those hints, or we can take all of those hints. We can, if it helps us, we should take all those hints and we should conjure up an image of Lord Krishna in the mind. Sri Krishna, for instance, some of the scriptural hints that we get is he has curly black hair, very silky curly black hair. His eyes are very big, they almost extend up to his ears. His face is round, he has a round face. One day, many years ago, Sri Maharaji, for the first time when he did that, we were sitting in the Angan, in the courtyard, where he sat like a loving father, and we all sat at his lotus feet like his children. We are his children. And Sri Maharaji all of a sudden started talking about what Lord Krishna looks like, Rup Dhyan. And our mouths were left open. There was such detailed description of Sri Krishna. I think we almost forgot to breathe. It was so beautiful. It was so detailed. And we were all in a trance. And all of a sudden when Maharaji finished, he broke that trance by saying, I have never seen him. I'm just thinking he probably looks like this. हम तो तुक्के से बता रहे हैं, हमने देखा नहीं है. And we thought, indeed, you have not seen him. So, Rup Dhyan must be done because it's the mind that practices devotion. We should take the help of bhajans and kirtans, and our merciful Gurudev, he has given us so much material. That is just overwhelming, isn't it? So much he has given us, and all we need to do is just use them. Allow them to help us. Prem Ras Madhira. Everyone should have that. Prem Ras Madhira. Bhakti Shatak, Radha Govind Geet, Shyama Sham Geet. These are treasures. Treasures. We got them very easily, so perhaps we don't understand the value of them. But in the future, Sri Maharaji had predicted that. He had already told us. In the future, there will be so many people doing PhDs. They'll be doing research on these scriptures. Sri Maharaji said that. When he gave the 103 lectures, Main Kaun, Mera Kaun, Maharaji said, I am giving these lectures for the future generations, so they will know what my philosophy was. And we have these scriptures right now, let's use them. So there is so much material, and we can use that to do our sadhana. And when we have finished that, because you have taken out an hour or 2 hours, now you need to do your work. You need to go and conduct your business, or you need to go to your job, you need to do household chores. There's so many things to do. Then do karma yoga sadhana. While you're working, get accustomed to thinking of him and do it gradually. Sri Maharaji's method is foolproof. It's a beautiful method. Every hour on the hour, just for a second, just for a moment, think about him. Sri Krishna is right here in this room. He's sitting right there. He's on the ceiling, or he's sitting on a chair, on a table, wherever. He is there. Every hour on the hour. Now we have gadgets that help us, the iPhones. They help us to put on so many alarms. So every hour the alarm goes off, and that's a very wonderful thing to use. And you think about Sri Krishna. Okay. Thanks to the iPhone, now I can think of him every hour on the hour for just one moment, that's all. And then gradually we must reduce that time to every 45 minutes. I'm going to think of him every 30 minutes, gradually every 20 minutes. And doing this gradually, not just all of a sudden. You can't jump up and reach the mountain, top of the mountain. Do it step by step. You can't be at the bottom of the stairs and you want to reach the top of the staircase. You can't do it in one jump. It's impossible. So you do it step by step. Siri dar siri charna hoga. Step by step we get there. Gradually, with consistent practice, diligent practice. Shri Krishna says in the Gita, Yat karoshi yadashnasi, yat juhosi dadasi, yat tapasyasi kaunteya, tat kurushva madarpanam. Chapter 9, verse 22. O Arjun, whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever charitable works you do them all for me. Offer them all to me. In other words, perform all those activities, but have me in your mind at all times. Why? Shri Krishna also says, Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mamanusmara yuddhacha. Fight the battle, perform this duty, but keep me in your mind all the time. That's Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga Sadhana that Shri Krishna has taught, both actually in the Gita. Karma Sannyas and Karma Yoga Sadhana. So the Bhagavad teaches us this, that you must practice devotion which is continuous. Selfless, it must be selfless, and it must be continuous. And that continuity comes only with lots of practice. If you say, well, I sat down to do Rup Dhyan, and in 1 hour I think I did maybe 1 minute of Rup Dhyan, then that is success. 1 minute out of 60, that is success. Next time it may be 2 or 3. Soon it'll be 5 minutes of Rup Dhyan. And we'll just steadily improve with practice. So Karma Sannyas Sadhana and Karma Yoga Sadhana, we must make these two part of our lives, part of daily life. These are the two conditions that the Bhagavad tells us about. Ahaituki Bhakti and Apratihata Bhakti. Selfless devotion and continuous devotion. So now we wish to know, can you tell us about some devotees who practice this kind of devotion? The Bhagavad says, of course, yes, the gopis. The gopis, the milk maidens of Vrindavan, milk maidens of Braj. To the world, they looked like illiterate women. They couldn't even sign their name. They just, angutha chap, we call them. If they're asked to sign, they will give their thumbprint, angutha chap. Illiterate. And internally, they are the greatest jnanis because they have fallen in love with Shri Krishna. And the greatest knowledge is, it culminates in love. If someone says, I have lots of knowledge, but I have no love for Shri Krishna, then you don't have knowledge. Jnana ajnana yoga kuyoga jnana ajnano jaha nahi rama prema paridhanu. The Ramayana says that jnana or knowledge, it's just so-called knowledge, it's actually ignorance if it doesn't lead you to love Bhagwan. And yoga is kuyog, it's the opposite. Yoga means union. If you say, I follow the path of yoga and yet I am not in love with Shri Krishna, then that yoga is kuyog, because sanyogo yoga ityukto jivatma paramatmano. Yoga means union of the mind with the Supreme Lord. That's the ultimate yoga. So gopis are the greatest examples of those devotees. So for the remaining 2 days, I will speak about the gopis and their love for Shri Krishna. And also I would like to talk about the Maharas, the 5 chapters of the Bhagavad in the 10th canto that describe the Maharas. So these are the topics coming up. बोलिए श्रीमद् सद्गुरु सरकार की जय, वृंदावन बिहारी लाल की जय, रासेश्वरी राधा रानी की जय, भागवत महापुराण की जय, जय जय श्री राधे, जय जय श्री राधे, जय जय श्री राधे.